Welcome, everyone. Just going to take a couple of, we got a big group today, so we're going to just take a moment and kind of wait while everybody joins. Everybody's kind of coming in. Welcome. Okay, it looks like most people are kind of getting in. We'll continue, but we'll go ahead and get started for everybody's, the sake of time. Welcome to the first parent university of the 2024-25 school year. My name's Amy Pfister. I'm the Community Relations Coordinator here at Douglas County School District. We're very excited to have you here tonight. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get started. Tonight's webinar is being recorded and will be shared out afterwards to the Douglas County School District community and will live on the Parent University page on the Douglas County website. So it will be accessible for a long time to come. So you'll have access to that if you weren't able to be here in person tonight. We do have an exceptionally large group, and we hope to have some time at the end for questions. If you do have a question relevant to tonight's content, what we're talking about, please put it in the Q&A chat so that we can dedicate some time at the end to answer that. I do want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Skyridge Medical Center, for sponsoring this tonight. I also want to thank my colleague, Ann Riso, who is here from Communications. She's going to help us kind of field some things tonight because we do have such a large group. And then also our presenters from the Colorado Department of Education and then Douglas County School District ASCENT program. We appreciate all of you for being here, taking some time out of your busy Wednesday nights. Whether you have a current college student or you have one who may attend in the future, navigating the how to pay for college waters are confusing and can be very overwhelming. So joining us tonight to make those waters a little easier to navigate, hopefully, are Jennifer Lucero from the Colorado Department of Higher Education and Evelyn Peterson from Douglas County School District. She is a post-secondary readiness department and program specialist with ASCENT. And then Matt Chambless, concurrent enrollment specialist from Douglas County School District. So they are the experts. They will hopefully answer all of your questions, but we're gonna go ahead for the sake of time and kick it off to Jennifer to get us started. So I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thanks, Amy. And thank you for having me. Welcome, everyone. Can you see my screen? The FAFSA CASFA updates.
I cannot see it.
Quite now. Oh, okay.
Matt, Evelyn, do you?
I can.
Okay, great. It looks like they can in the chat as well. Fantastic. Thank you for letting me know. I am Jennifer Lucero, Outreach Navigator with the Colorado Department of Higher Education, and just want to today share some updates about FAFSA, briefly go over what FAFSA and CASFA are. And not only will I be giving some 25-26 updates, I'll be sharing some 24-25 updates as well. They are relevant to what will be happening with the 25-26 form, and we'll go a little bit through process. Oops, looks like I skipped a screen, sorry. It's going a little nutty here. But first, so we just have a real basic understanding of financial aid. Financial aid is money from various sources that helps students and families pay for the cost of higher education, things like tuition and fees, room and board, books, supplies, transportation, food. I mean, pretty much anything that the student is going to use during their higher education experience. Now, some different types of financial aid that will be available. In the first bucket, this is the best bucket, the blue bucket, if you will, because these are types of aid that do not have to be paid back. So we're talking about grants like the Pell Grant, for instance, that's at $7,395 per academic year right now. There's also the Colorado Student Grant. You do have to fill out the CASFA for that. There are scholarships that are need-based or merit-based based on what suits the student. Work study is another form of financial aid. It can be either the FAFSA or the CASFA that you would fill out for this. It's a program that allows students to work on or off campus to earn money towards their educational expenses. Work study is an area that has changed a little bit with with the better FAFSA. And so it does put the onus on the student to seek out those opportunities, contact the financial aid office, see if they're available for work study and how to apply for that. Other than those forms of aid, there are also loans. And of course, there are the federal loans. Those are the loans from the government, and students and parents are eligible for those. There's the direct subsidized loans. Those are great because the interest doesn't start to accrue until after the completion of the program. There's the unsubsidized loans. Those are a little less desirable, right? Because interest is accruing right away. And then there's the Parent Plus loans. A lot of parents don't like to even consider the Parent Plus loan, I feel like sometimes, but it can be, maybe a better option. This is a fixed interest rate loan. It's right now like just over 9%. And so that could be a better option than the third bucket, which is the bank and private lender loans. Now, for those federal loans, you do need to complete the FAFSA for those loans. For the third bucket, maybe you've banked with a bank or a credit union for a long time. You could check with them and see if they maybe have a better interest rate for you. But keep in mind, those loans are not going to be, they're not part of the federal loan system, so they won't be eligible for the loan forgiveness programs. So if your student is going into a program like that, they may want to reconsider that route. But these are the applications that you would fill out for those forms of financial aid. There's the FAFSA, which I will touch on, and CASFA definitely today. Scholarship applications are kind of all across the board, depending on what your student is eligible for. And then I did just want to mention the CSS profile. This is an online application that schools use to determine if the student is eligible for institutional aid. And I will bring that up again when we discuss circumstances, unusual and special circumstances. But just some quick updates for the 24-25 FAFSA. It has been a long year for the 24-25 FAFSA. If you didn't have a student, maybe you heard some of the rumblings about it, but for the most part, what I am seeing in the field is that a lot of those kinks have been worked out. Contributors without a Social Security number can now create their FSA ID and gain access to the FAFSA form so they can enter their information manually on the form. Most issues that I'm seeing in the field right now are a mismatch of information, which means when the student goes to invite their contributor, it's not matching how the contributor entered their information in the FSAD. And so there's a mismatch there, and the only way to fix it is to get those to look exactly the same. One recommendation is take a picture so the student can see exactly how the contributor entered their information. If you do have a student who is maybe considering a January start or taking summer classes, they will need to fill out the 24-25 FAFSA, and that will be open until the end of June. And it is preferred that students fill out now the electronic FAFSA and not the paper FAFSA. But as for 25-26 FAFSA updates, I'll just be honest, these are them. Not very many of them to share at this time. But what's really exciting is that beta testing is starting next week. So institutions, schools, they've all applied to go through this beta testing. If you happen, I would say, maybe pay attention to your students' schools' communications. And if they are offering FAFSA completion through the beta testing, I would take them up on that. This is going to give your application really it's going to be looked at under a microscope to make sure there are no issues with that. So it would be a really great opportunity, especially if it's your first time and maybe you have special circumstances. But testing starts October 1st. The actual FAFSA form will open for everyone on December 1st. If you are part of the beta testing, the great news is you will not have to fill the form out again once it opens in December. But there is a prototype that is available. You can go to this website or scan that QR code, enter the access code prototype 2526, and it'll give you access to different scenarios. Not all scenarios have been updated at this point, but you could at least click through the screens to see, how do I create my FSA ID? How do I enter information? What are the questions that are going to be asked? That way, if you need to get information before you actually fill it out in December, you'll have the opportunity to do that. And hopefully everyone got that information. As of right now, even though the actual FAFSA form is not opening until December 1st, you can be creating your FSA ID, or they're going to try to start calling it the studentaid.gov account. They're the same thing. Both students and contributors need to create an FSA ID, and this QR code will take you to a worksheet that we have created to walk you through that process. You will also need, if you're planning to fill out the 25-26 FAFSA for your student, you will need 2023 federal income taxes. And I do encourage you, a lot of schools are going to be conducting FAFSA CASFA nights. I would encourage you to attend. We'll be at some of those to help students and families complete their forms. And it's nice just to have some help, especially with this past year. I think some of us are going into this with a little bit of anxiety. But I mentioned contributors. If your student is under 24, chances are they are going to require a contributor on their FAFSA form. If the parents of the contributor live in the same household, whether they're married, never married, or divorced or separated, both parents will provide information on FAFSA form. And let's just be clear, being a contributor is different, right, than creating the FSA ID. The FSA ID is strictly your signature giving consent for your federal tax information to be electronically transferred over from the IRS, whereas contributor is entering that information. And so if you file your taxes jointly, only one parent will be the contributor. Both parents will need the FSA ID, but only one will be on the FAFSA as a contributor. If your parents filed taxes separately, both will need FSA ID and both will be a contributor. If the parents are divorced, the contributor is the parent who provided the most financial support to the student in the previous 12 months. If both parents provided equal support, then it's the parent with the most income and assets, they're the contributor. If that is equal, then it is now up to the parents who they want the contributor on the FAFSA form to be. Now, if that parent is remarried, then the parent and step-parent both go on the FAFSA form. If they file jointly, then only one parent's required as the contributor, but they will both be on, because right when you file jointly, when one parent's information is pulled over, then the other parent's information is automatically pulled over. If they file separately, however, both will need to provide that information. This is a graphic to hopefully help, because I know that can get a little bit confusing, but just remember, always ask, are your parents married to each other? If yes, then both parents provide information on the FAFSA. If no, then do your parents live together? If yes, both parents. If no, which parent provided more financial support in the last 12 months? And is that parent remarried? And if yes, then both of parent and step parent go on the FAFSA. And if no, only the one parent go on. So really, you just have to ask yourself those 3 questions. But please remember, when I say parent, I am talking about the biological or legally adoptive parent. If a student's living with the grandparents and they have not adopted the student, then grandparents are not contributors. If the step parent has not legally adopted the student, then they are not considered a parent, but they are identified as a parent spouse on the FAFSA. Something new to the FAFSA as of 24-25 is the Student Aid Index. And this is what determines a student's eligibility. And what they do is that they take into consideration the parent's income, the parent's assets, the student's income, and the student's assets, and that equals their Student Aid Index. The Student Aid Index is subtracted from the cost of attendance from the school, and that equals the financial need. So basically, if the cost of attendance is $16,000 and the student's SAI is $12,000, then we can see the financial need is $4,000. And how it's determined how much Pell Grant a student gets is the family size, the annual gross income, tax filing status, and poverty level guidelines are taken into consideration to determine if the student receives full Pell Grant, that $3,700, or if they receive a part of that. Another change to the formula is to the asset exclusion provision. So if the annual gross income of the household is under $60,000 and the family has used any of these benefits, then the assets will not be included in that SAI formula. It will only be the income that's included there. And I just like to mention that another great change to the Better FAFSA is that parents now receive an abbreviated FAFSA submission summary, which is fantastic because students are very busy and not always checking their email. So you can be watching as well for your students' eligibility. Some students may experience unusual or special circumstances. With unusual circumstances, these are circumstances that are recorded right on the FAFSA when it's being filled out. With special circumstances, these are circumstances that are brought up with the school's financial aid office after the FAFSA has been filled out. So just to elaborate on that a little bit, if a student is eligible for an unusual circumstances, say parent abandonment or homelessness, then they will be given, and they have to check the box. It's very important they check the correct box, because that will give them provisional independent status so that they can complete the FAFSA form without their parent information. Once that's submitted and processed, the student contacts the financial aid office to see what documentation they will need to determine if the student will maintain the independent status. If the financial aid office determines the student will maintain that status, they maintain it the entire time they are attending that school, as long as their circumstances do not change. Now, with special circumstances, the student will have to more than likely complete the FAFSA form with their parent information. However, they will contact the school's financial aid office after that has been processed, explain their special circumstance. So let's say you're using 2023 tax information, but there's been a loss of income, so it's not the same amount of income. You can call, explain that to the financial aid office. This is where they might have you fill out that CSS, that online application, and they will determine if there is institutional aid available to you. Now, FAFSA or CASFA, that's the question. A lot of times families are not sure, but of course we want to do one or the other, not both. And it is really important that students know which one they are eligible for so that they can fill that out and get help paying for their schooling. Our CASFA coordinator here in Colorado, her name is Sophie Vogel. This is her email address. If you do need help filling out a CASFA or you have questions about CASFA, you can email her there, and she is very responsive. But I can give you just a little bit of background on the CASFA. The CASFA is, let me go back here, is the Colorado application for state financial aid. A lot of people don't know that we have an application for state financial aid. This is for students who are not eligible to fill out the FAFSA. It does mimic the FAFSA, however. So chances are, if FAFSA doesn't come out until December 1st, then CASFA will not launch until December 1st either, because the software is very similar, the programming, and so they will have the same dates. This past year, 24-25, we had just over 2,000 CASFAs completed in Colorado. That, of course, I feel like can definitely be increased. If you would like to look at the CASFA fact sheet, this QR code will take you there. And just like the FAFSA, the 24-25 CASFA will be open until June 30th. The CASFA, if to be eligible for the CASFA, you are not a U.S. citizen and possibly an ASCENT student. That means you've attended a Colorado high school for at least 1 year before graduation, or you've completed a GED and you have been in Colorado for 12 months. You should complete a CASFA, not a FAFSA. You never complete both. And it's my experience, honestly, though, once you start to fill out the CASFA, if you get to the 3rd screen, by then it's going to tell you, it's either going to let you continue through because you're eligible, or it's going to tell you you're not eligible for CASFA and you need to fill out the FAFSA. And the same thing with FAFSA. When you get to the citizenship screen, it will tell you there if you're not eligible for FAFSA, then you fill out your state aid. But all students who are not eligible for CASFA should be encouraged to fill out the CASFA, because there could be other opportunities other than the Colorado grant. Perhaps there's some institutional opportunities as well. But looking at the Colorado ASCENT eligible students, they do pay in-state tuition at our public colleges and universities, and they do need to demonstrate a financial need. Just a reminder, I know it's coming up quick. I can't believe it myself, but Colorado free application days are coming up October 15th through the 17th. This is a great time to apply to as many schools. The new the new FAFSA allows for you to enter 20 schools on there for them to send your FAFSA to. So feel free to apply to as many schools as your student is interested in, and that is for free. These are some email addresses. If you'd like to reach either me or Sophie, you can email us at either Outreach or CASFA email addresses. Happy to help in any way, answer questions. You can also find that we have office hours. My office hours are usually Thursdays from 2 to 4:30. I do half-hour appointments to help families complete their FAFSA or answer any questions. Fantastic. Okay, sorry, I'll stop sharing. That's all I've got.
Alrighty, and I think Matt is going to start his portion of the presentation right now. Matt, are you seeing the screen okay?
Yes, it looks good.
Wonderful.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm Matt Chambless, the Concurrent Enrollment Specialist for Douglas County School District. And Evelyn and I are part of the Post-Secondary Readiness Department. So we deal with things that happen after your student gets through Douglas County School District. So I work in concurrent enrollment, and Evelyn works with our ASCENT and TREP programs. Next slide, please. Here's our contact information. Once again, Evelyn is going to be working with the ASCENT program. She's our ASCENT program specialist and school counselor, and her phone number and email are listed there. And I'm the concurrent enrollment specialist, and my contact information is there as well. Concurrent enrollment allows high school students to earn college credit and credit towards a high school diploma at the same time. So it's a really great situation because our high school instructors are also considered college adjunct professors. So the advantage for our Douglas County School District students is they get college level curriculum, but they have a high school instructor who really knows how to work with someone that age. They can provide assistance to help them get to that high level curriculum. And we found that once a DCSD student completes one of our concurrent enrollment classes, it does give them a lot of confidence going forward, so they feel comfortable taking more CE classes. Some of our students who didn't think they would even go to college, once they were able to complete some of our concurrent enrollment classes, that gave them the confidence to go to the next level of education. We have a number of post-secondary partners. Our main partner for concurrent enrollment is Arapahoe Community College, but we also work with Red Rocks. We work with Metro State, CSU Pueblo, UCCS, and a few others. Next slide, please. So we have 150 total concurrent enrollment classes available in Douglas County School District. And last school year, what that meant is we had 10,381 seats in our high schools and at ACC that were taken for concurrent enrollment. And here's the really great news. The tuition dollars that our families from Douglas County School District saved last year was $9,271,481.48. So it's a great savings for our families. We get very excited about being able to help reduce the cost of college through our concurrent enrollment programs. Currently, we're set up where we're able to pay all of the tuition costs for concurrent enrollment classes. However, students are responsible for fees, textbooks, and supplies. Some of our popular course options in concurrent enrollment include Introduction to Business. You might see that listed either at Arapahoe Community College or on some of our websites as BUS 1015. Another popular option is College Algebra. And once again, we have these high school instructors that are very good at taking complex content like college algebra, but helping someone who is a high school student understand that content at a high level. We also have English composition, Introduction to Literature, Personal Finance, and Principles of Marketing. Those are some of our most popular options. But as I mentioned earlier, we have 150 different CE courses that we have available in Douglas County School District. So if that sounds like something that would be a great fit for your student, the best next step for them is to have them talk to their counselor at their home high school. And at that point, they can take advantage of opportunities at their high school, at high schools across our district, or at our new Legacy campus. And if they're a senior, they're actually able to take one class per semester at ACC. And once again, this one is a little bit more budget restraining, but we are able to offer one class at ACC per semester of the senior year. So if we have a senior that has an interest in a concurrent enrollment or a college class that is not available at one of our local high schools, we are able to get them to ACC, and we can cover the tuition for that course as well. Concurrent enrollment courses are posted on each high school's website under the concurrent enrollment tab or in their academic planning guides. And now I'm going to turn it over to our ASCENT specialist, Evelyn Peterson.
Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate it. So yes, I am Evelyn Peterson. I am a school counselor, but the program specialist for the ASCENT program. First off, what does ASCENT mean? Well, it actually means accelerating students through concurrent enrollment. ASCENT has been around since 2009, but it has changed in the last few years. Allows qualifying students to basically attend a full year of college for free. And Douglas County School District will pay strictly for tuition. Full-time students and a minimum of 24 credits. So 12 credits in semester 1, 12 credits in semester 2. Next slide, please. You can advance it. Perfect. How can ASCENT help you? Well, first of all, it's going to help with our student loan debt. $1.74 trillion is where we're at as of September 4th. I didn't even know trillion was a real number. So definitely huge debt in that area that you wouldn't have to contribute to. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money. And it definitely offers that competitive advantage. Between 2000 and 2021, average tuition fees actually jumped to 65% for colleges and universities. Student loans, as we know, can delay people from achieving their life goals, getting married, having children, buying a house, and honestly, pursuing future education. So ASCENT can definitely help your kiddos. Next slide. Fall of 2023, we actually look at that number, 100,872.58. So we saved a ton of money for our Douglas County students and families. As far as how does ASCENT work? Basically, the state of Colorado, the district is going to receive per pupil revenue for every ASCENT student. So what does that mean to your student? They need to remain a Douglas County student for the ASCENT year. They're going to be coded as a 13th year student for our October count. And basically, they would not qualify for ASCENT if they did not complete their graduation requirements designated by Douglas County School District, which would include their 24 credits, 20 community service hours, their math and English competencies, and their completion of their ICAP, Naviance task, their individual career and education plan. To provide documentation to the district for verification as well. So again, as mentioned, we pay for tuition, Douglas County does, but the student will pay, family will pay for everything else to include books, fees, supplies, housing, if applicable. And what happens is, as the ASCENT rep for the district, I will be in contact with the student, and we would need to make sure that they have a schedule and their grades. So roughly 4 times a year, I will connect with the student for that formal conversation to get that information from the student so that we can show proof that they are attending school in college. Go ahead. As far as eligibility requirements, as mentioned, they need to make sure that they've completed all their graduation requirements before becoming qualified to be an ASCENT student. They cannot have any developmental courses in their concurrent enrollment pathway. They need to have at least 9 post-secondary credits. This used to be 12 credits, now it's 9, and that can be in the form of concurrent enrollment classes that they're taking, dual enrollment, and that has to be a grade of C or above. In high school, they'll accept Ds. Ds are actually passing, but with the ASCENT scholarship program, you have to have a C. AP courses, 3 and above. And AP courses, the senior year, unfortunately, do not count. And the why behind that is because we do not get the scores in time for the deadline. IB tests do count as well, and you would need a score of 4 or above. I know that we have some IB, an IB high school in our district. Agree to have their diploma withheld, okay? So they still attend graduation. They have the pomp and circumstance, they have their parties, they enjoy finishing high school. However, because the state is going to get that tuition, the per pupil revenue, they remain coded to the high school. They never have to return to the high school if they don't want to, but once their ASCENT year is completed, that is when their diploma will be released with the ASCENT year as their year for graduation. Again, the transcripts will state that they are an ASCENT student and it is a state program. Part of the new legislation, can you go back one? Sorry, this is important. Thank you so much. Part of the new legislation is before you can receive the ASCENT scholarship, you have to complete the free application for federal student aid or the Colorado application for federal aid. Again, you don't do both, like Jennifer said. And the reason why is the state of Colorado wants to make sure that whatever financial package behooves the student the most, that is what path that they will go. So you cannot stack the ASCENT scholarship with any financial aid to include Parent Plus loans, that's work study, no financial aid, no state or federal scholarships are allowed during the ASCENT year. Depending on our partner school, which we have 15 currently and hopefully growing, they may consider kind of like rollover minutes for your phone. They might consider, if it's available, and I would always get in it writing, to roll over any scholarships that the student has been awarded. Again, you want to make sure that your student applies for the free application or the CASFA and apply for every single scholarship, and make sure that the best financial package is what the student will go toward, as opposed to just doing ASCENT, because again, ASCENT is going to be just for tuition. And student athletes, due to NCAA rules, are not eligible for ASCENT, nor are early grads, nor are students that are 21 years or over. Next slide. The first thing that you'll want to do is work with your high school counselor. Since this is a new position, Matt and myself have gone to the majority of all the Douglas County school districts, and we've had one-on-one trainings with our points of contact. We just have a couple of schools left. So we are working alongside each other to support the student. So students will work with their counselor to get the application. Applications, just I tell my students and families to remember the candy M&M, right? March 1 is when the application will open, and May 1 is when it will close. In the past, you know, there was a mad rush as to who was going to be a recipient. Along the way, as mentioned, since I've been put in the position, I will now work alongside the high school counselor. So they'll meet with the student, and then I will either meet virtually or in person to reiterate some of the points about being an ASCENT student. Happy to meet with student and parent. So I'll have already started to understand the needs of the student. So my desire is that all students will be notified no later than the second week of May so that they will know what path they're going to do before they attend their actual graduation at Douglas County. I will, as mentioned, will verify eligibility, making sure that they have the 3 courses, which equate to 9 credits. And you want to make sure that you complete the agreement. When you're working with your counselor, it's really, really important that all transcripts are ordered. So it's often thought that all of your transcripts, to include your concurrent enrollment and your AP scores, are all in one in your high school. While they may be visible on your high school transcript, it's vitally important that every student order, if applicable, all 3. Obviously your high school, but you'll want to order your ACC or Front Range or whatever concurrent enrollment college you attended in high school, separate from high school transcripts, along with your AP scores or your IB scores. AP goes through College Board, and you can ask your school counselor for the IB, the website, to order those scores as well. Next slide. I am so excited about this slide. There has been rumor out there that the ASCENT scholarship is strictly for community colleges. No, you guys, we have 4-year schools to include UCCS, UNC, we have Western, we have Fort Lewis, we have Colorado Mountain College, we have one of our biggest partners is Metro, and now Pikes Peak down south is a state college. So we are continuing to add more schools, and your counselors will be notified when we add another school. Please know that the big schools, and I want to repeat this, CSU, CU, DU, unfortunately, ASCENT students, their tuition rate is at every year, the legislation votes, and it's at the community college rate of around $169. And unfortunately, the bigger schools are right now not interested. So again, they may have websites that speak to ASCENT, but if you read the fine print, it says transfer students from ASCENT. Next slide. As far as the needed information during the ASCENT year, as already mentioned, repetition's the mother of learning. So again, March is when the application will open, and May is when it will close. There'll be an application, and then once your student, so I also remind families to remember M&M and A&A, because they'll get the application from their school counselor, and then I will give them the agreement. It is the ASCENT agreement that speaks to the parameters of being an ASCENT student, the fact that your diploma will be withheld, you have the 9 credits. Now, take in mind, it will also speak to the tuition will be billed to the district. This is a very important piece that I want to emphasize. Unfortunately, a lot of college and university systems are a bit antiquated, and they do not recognize ASCENT students. So while you are coded as an ASCENT student, you'll hear that from your school counselor, you'll hear it from your district ASCENT school counselor, you're going to hear it from the point of contact at the said university that you are an ASCENT student, but oftentimes the student portal is still going to show that you owe tuition. You might still get emails. Please understand, it's not something that we can control. The systems just don't read each other, but I do have cashier office numbers for all of our partners, and they will verify that your student is an ASCENT student. I always love to tell people to get things in writing, but bulk invoices are not delivered at the same time as individual invoices. So what that means to you is we have received invoices at the end of semester 1, but I promise you the post-secondary readiness department, as soon as we get the bill, we will pay. It's just often delayed. you can forward, all right. ASCENT resources, as mentioned, we are going to share the slides with you as well as the recording. So you'll be able to get a link to the frequently asked questions. I would absolutely encourage every parent, every student, and it's very easy to read. The CDE website spells out so much of the frequently asked questions. So again, there we'll have the link for you, and here's my phone number. This is definitely a passion of mine. I'm looking forward to working with families and students and continue to make this a household name. Again, it's one of the easiest scholarships that a student can qualify for. So 9 credits. And I hope that I get to meet some of you, your families and students in the near future. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of the presentation today. Now, oh, we also, here's a bonus couple of slides. We have TREP, and that is very similar to ASCENT, but I don't know if you guys have realized, but there is a teacher shortage. And the state of Colorado has blessed us with the TREP program, which is the Teacher Recruitment Education Preparation Program. And basically, instead of just 1 year being covered, if your student is looking at being a teacher, they get 2 years covered with our 15 partners currently. This program, though, just like the ASCENT program, it has limited slots. So the ASCENT program, part of the new legislation, is it used to be unlimited, and used to be 500, then in 2022 they limited it, it was unlimited, and now whatever a district has is what they will be slotted for the next 2 years. TREP also has limited spots. Students must remain for the 5th and 6th year with Douglas County for tuition to be paid, and their diploma is held. So it's like 13th grade and 14th grade. And the eligibility is very similar to ASCENT, but with TREP, there are certain course requirements that will align to the educator pathway. As mentioned, you'll be able to have this link, and once again, there's my contact information. All right.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. This is just incredible. Not a surprise. We have multiple questions. So we're going to try to work our way through those as quickly as possible. We'll just start with the ones that came through the Q&A first. And you guys can tag team on who answers this. It looks like this one might be for you, Jennifer. Students entering higher education in the fall of 2025 would be completing the 2025-26 FAFSA. Is that correct?
If they are starting next fall, so next September, if they're starting in January, if they're starting this summer, they will complete the 24-25 FAFSA.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let's see, Josh asked, if it's not open until December, when might students find out any information? Just referencing last year's rollout was a little bit tricky, and just want to make sure, you know.
Just as we are, Josh, yeah, try to go into this with a positive outlook. You know, December is later, but what the hope is that because beta testing is starting in October, there are going to be, you know, smaller groups, of course, 1,000 students working up into the tens of thousands of students. And so by the time they complete that beta testing for the December launch, hopefully all of those kinks are worked out and there's no problem with submission and getting the ICERs to the schools. So I know what you've heard, but those issues I think have been resolved. So hopefully these 25-26 students won't have as much of a problem.
Okay. And then let's see, my kid is a junior this year. Do we need to fill out FAFSA this year?
No, you will fill that out next year, either October, maybe through December sometime, hopefully October again, right?
Right? Okay, let's see. At some adjusted gross income level, is it pointless for a family to complete a FAFSA? Is there a point where you can make too much money where a FAFSA is a waste of time, or is it something that's needed for everyone?
And so for the Pell Grant, it could be possible that your annual gross income is too high to receive full or maybe even partial of that. However, there are other grants and scholarships that you will definitely want to fill FAFSA out for. It's not a requirement at this point in Colorado. But it's, yeah, you don't have to fill it out, but I would say it will take that off your plate should your student apply for a grant or scholarship that requires it.
Makes sense. Let's see. My spouse passed away this year and we lost most of our income that is reflected in the 2023 tax return. How do we file a special circumstance?
I am so sorry for your loss. It is indeed a special circumstance there. What you will want to do is complete the FAFSA form with, if you're doing the 25-26, you will complete that with your 2023 taxes still. Now, after that has been processed and sent to the school, you will follow up with the financial aid office at the school. You'll have to determine, you know, if you're going to dwindle, maybe if you chose 20 schools, maybe you dwindle that down to your top 5, however many, but contact the schools and see what type of documentation they're going to need for that special circumstance. But be sure you have to be proactive in this case, and you have to contact the financial aid office.
Let's see here. Is CASFA aid only aid that can be used at Colorado schools, or can it be used at any institution?
Only Colorado.
And then can we apply for both FAFSA and CASFA?
No, both Evelyn and I have touched on that. You must determine which one you're eligible for and only apply for one.
Let's see here. Is marching band considered a student athlete?
That does not, it would not be governed by the NCAA. So I do not believe. I will connect with my CDE rep for ASCENT, but I haven't been posed that question yet. So if I can get that parent's name, I will follow up with them as well.
Yes, I will get that to you. And then, and I'm just going to finish in these questions if you wanted to do the chat. Let's see, we have just a couple more. Does the FAFSA application rule apply for ASCENT students during the current 2024-25 year? I'm not sure what application rule is being referenced. That ring a bell to anyone?
Seems like it's for Evelyn.
Can you repeat that question? I thought,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Does the FAFSA application rule apply for ASCENT students during the current 2024-25 school year?
It's just for this upcoming high school graduates, not from last year. That was new legislation that was put in place this June for future ASCENT students. So they did not have to do the FAFSA for the CASFA if they were an ASCENT student last year.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I heard FAFSA in my brain.
No, it's okay. I know. I mean, try saying these 10 times fast. Okay. Someone would like to know if students can live on campus during their ASCENT year.
I love this question. Absolutely, they can live on campus. But remember that basically, I always tell my families and students, you can't double dip. So we only pay for tuition. We don't pay for books, fees, supplies, parking, housing. So what that means to you is that, yes, your student can live on housing, but you have to pay for it. The family has to pay for it.
That makes perfect sense. Jennifer, this sounds like one for you. Is anyone at CDHE well-versed in helping students of veterans navigate benefits they may be eligible for, including Parent Plus loan forgiveness for certain parent veterans?
No one on my little small team is, but I know that the financial aid offices do have those types of advisors. So I would recommend contacting your financial aid office of the school you're interested in, or wherever your FAFSA is going to be sent.
Okay. And then, Anne, this will be the last one for me. This is an ASCENT question. Can you expand on what you mean by 9 credits for ASCENT? And it's a two-parter. Did you say
Okay.
students have to complete concurrent enrollment and AP classes for ASCENT?
No, it's basically one of the three, a combination of one, a combination of two rather. So for example, Evelyn, the student, took all ACC classes, and I got 9 credits. Matt, the student, took an AP and 2 ACC to equal 9 credits. I have a student that goes to Douglas County High School and received a 4 on their IB test. That is considered 3 credits in the college world. And then they could do ACC and AP. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yes, that does.
And just to clarify, if I
sorry.
could add something real quick, is that okay?
Of
Yeah.
course.
It's 9 post-secondary credits, so that's 3 concurrent enrollment classes. They're talking about college level credits. High school credits, 1 class is a lot lower number. So it's basically if you took Intro to Business, English, and Lit, those 3 concurrent enrollment classes would make you eligible for ASCENT. So yeah, don't get that confused with a high school
I
credit number.
appreciate you saying that. And if parents or students want to clarify, they can go to the actual website for the college and type in the class that they took, and it'll show how many credits, college credits, they're taking for that intro to business. Because it might be just 1 credit in high school, but it's 3 in college. So they need 9 post-secondary credits for ASCENT. And the second part of the question again?
Did you, let's see, did you say students have to complete continuing or concurrent enrollment, sorry, and AP classes for ASCENT?
Okay, so I think I clarified that by answering it. No, it can be one or the other, or just one, all AP. So,
Perfect.
Yep.
And then lastly, is there a limit of students per school for the ASCENT program?
right now, we don't have our final October count completed. We have all of our ASCENT students for this year, but there's fallout, so I won't know how that will be distributed until we get further clarification from our department lead.
Okay, perfect. And we just have a couple minutes left. Anne, if you want to take it
I'll
over.
take-
Okay,
Yeah, these are great questions.
they are.
If both divorced parents are remarried, will all 4 parents / step parents need to fill out the FAFSA?
No, that would be a lot of information. It will only be the parent that provided the most support during the previous 12 months and that parent's spouse.
Next question is about continuing ed, and this parent is interested if seniors are only eligible for continuing ed.
For concurrent enrollment?
I'm sorry, concurrent.
Oh,
Well,
that's
it's
good. Typically, it's going to be for our seniors just based on the way our graduation requirements fall. But you can take a concurrent enrollment class as a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. Typically, just the way it works, you'll see more concurrent enrollment classes taken your junior and senior year.
Thank you.
As far as the at ACC, that might be where that question came up. If your student wants to take a class at an ACC campus, we can give them one class fall of their senior year and one class spring of their senior year. But as far as at high school concurrent enrollment, you can start right away.
Thanks. We may have already discussed this question, but this viewer is wondering if anyone is well-versed on helping students of veterans that are eligible for a variety of benefits, including loan forgiveness.
I think we did touch
It did.
that.
Okay.
Yep.
Thought about that. And let's see. What if you are not eligible for FAFSA or CASFA, but wish to apply for ASCENT?
You have to complete the FAFSA and the CASFA, no matter, that's part of the requirement. And if you're not eligible, then you're not eligible, but that is part of the application process moving forward, that they need to submit it. They might not qualify, but it's still part of the process. I think I answered that question. It's because everybody, Jennifer, can, if I'm correct in saying, complete the FAFSA and the CASFA, one of the two. So I'm just wondering what would make them not qualified then.
Yeah, maybe they mean eligible for the actual aid, but you would still fill it out.
You have to still,
Mm-hmm. One or the other,
Okay.
not both.
All right. Next question. Is there an income limit for ASCENT?
no, there is not. Which is the reason why ASCENT was created was for 3 reasons back in 2009: to reduce the attainment gap, to save students and parents money, and 94% of the tier 1 jobs in the state of Colorado require an endorsement past that of high school. So they're wanting to invest in students that have already demonstrated the ability to handle collegiate curriculum. So no, it has nothing to do with how much money you make.
Okay. Does FAFSA or CASFA available for foreign students on H-4 visa, but high school students in Douglas County schools?
I would say no, more than likely to the FAFSA, but even though it may not be for the CASFA, still encourage the student to fill out the CASFA.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And we're short on time, but we have a couple more questions. So if it's okay, we'll try and squeeze these in. We talked about on-campus living, but there's another question for ASCENT. And are on-campus living requirements waived when and if the student transfers to another school?
Are the housing, if you're living in the housing, you have to pay the parent or the student. As far as waiving any fees for an ASCENT student, that would be no, they're not waived.
Okay. And let's see, is everyone eligible for ASCENT if they apply?
If they meet the eligibility requirements, the 9 credits, completing the FAFSA or CASFA, making sure that they don't have any developmental courses in their pathway. And those details we will also reiterate. But yes, if you are eligible, you can apply. But now that there's limited slots for each district, with what we ended with this year, then it just, again, that's to be determined as far as how those slots will be released.
Okay. This is a question we did refer to this earlier about the number of spots for ASCENT during the 24-25 school year, but this particular person wants to know if there aren't enough spots available, how are the seats decided, essentially?
To be determined. I will tell you
Okay.
that when there was limited slots in the past, I've worked with colleges and they've said with the amount of attrition, it ended up being like a push, basically. So the students, because oftentimes what happens is this is an amazing scholarship, but we all know that teenagers change their minds. So they may want to be going this direction, but all of a sudden they get this scholarship that they didn't know about, and then they drop out of ASCENT. So we want to make sure no slot goes unfilled, but I have been reassured by several of our partners, oh, I wouldn't worry if I were you, because we were all worried, oh my gosh, there's limited spots now, but it all, like right now, I still have students that are dropping from this past year. So, that's part of what ASCENT is about too. It's to get that soft landing and to have that additional support to see if going to college is a right fit. So, yeah, that is to be determined. And right now that's, October count hasn't completed. So once that's done, then it goes above my pay grade as far as how that decision is going to work out with distributing the slots to each high school.
Great, thank you. Okay, and we have one last question. This person is wondering if they do not get aid, if their son can still apply for ASCENT.
Yeah, aid, if basically you are doing the FAFSA, the CASFA, and applying for scholarships to see what would benefit the student the most. So if they don't get, we don't want them to get aid if they want to get the ASCENT scholarship, right? Because you can't double dip. You're not allowed to take out any student loans or state or federal scholarships and be an ASCENT student. You can't double dip. So if the application, the FAFSA or the CASFA provides more for you that would behoove the student, we want you to go that route. So as opposed to ASCENT.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, wonderful. I mean, wow. What an informative and helpful discussion this was. I mean, I personally have 2 college kids and I learned so much tonight. So thank you to our presenters, Jennifer Lucero from the Colorado Department of Higher Education, and Evelyn Peterson and Matt Chambless from Douglas County School District's ASCENT program for sharing your evening and all of your valuable information and resources with us. Again, just a reminder to everybody, if you registered for this webinar, you will get a link to it in your email, and we will share it out on our Parent University page as well. Again, thank you to our sponsor, Skyridge Medical Center, and Anne for helping out tonight. Just a couple quick reminders per the dialogue tonight. Free Colorado application days are October 15th through the 17th. That's huge savings there. And then Douglas County School District, we're having our strategic plan kickoff events next week. So if you scan the QR code on your screen, you can register for those. There are multiple days and times available for those, but it's really important that we hear the community voice. And you can learn about the past, present, and shaping the future of Douglas County School District. So we really urge you, bring a neighbor, bring a friend, bring your students. There will be dinner available at the evening ones. And then lastly, save the date for our next Parent University. It is Wednesday, October 23rd, 5:30 to 6:30 right here on Zoom. We will send that link out here in the next couple of weeks, but we'll be talking about career and technical education and pathways for Douglas County School District students, which is amazing. And then we do have a Parent University page on our website. I put a little link at the bottom to help you navigate your way there, but a multitude of valuable resources, experts, topics, videos, just available for you at your discretion. So really urge you to check that out. But again, thank you everyone for your time tonight. We so appreciate it, and have a good rest of your night.